Ministry targets transactions value at the Trade Expo 2020 to reach $1 billion. Kino Indonesia is about to distribute interim dividend. Good afternoon, viewers in Indonesia and Singapore. Market Headlines is ready to provide you a number of informations from business, economic, and capital market sectors. With me, Claranta Wijaya, and this is Market Headlines. And yes, viewers, the Ministry of Trade officially opened the 35th Indonesian Trade Expo 2020. And this year, the ministry targets the value of transactions at the Trade Expo to reach $1 billion.
The 35th Indonesian Trade Expo 2020 was officially opened on Tuesday afternoon, an event that brings together exporters and buyers from abroad, held from 10 November to 16 November 2020. The Ministry of Trade targets that in this year's Indonesian Trade Expo, export transactions can increase to $1 billion. With the increase in exports at the 2020 Trade Expo, it is hoped that by the end of the year, the value of Indonesian exports can exceed $130 billion.
Dalam transaksi ini diharapkan satu transaksi terjadi kurang lebih 1 miliar US dollar. Dan ini tadi dengan adanya penandatangan MOU, nah ini merupakan sinyal positif juga. Target dari 300 yang mendaftar ini terregister adalah sekarang udah 690 dari 300 target. Dan ini mudah-mudahan akan membawa sinyal positif juga, dan diharapkan target ekspor kita sampai akhir tahun ini kurang lebih 130 miliar US dollar.
The Minister of Trade Agus Suparmanto stated that he was confident that the target will be achieved. This can be seen from the cooperation agreement signed on the first day of the 2020 Indonesian Trade Expo virtually with several countries including Japan, Netherlands, Singapore, Australia, and several other European countries that have achieved transaction value of $467 million US dollar. From Jakarta, Muhammad Olga for IDX Channel.
The Ministry of Public Works and Public Housing will build 7 infrastructure projects in 2021 with the Government Business Partnership Scheme. And 7 of these projects will be carried out early in the next year, consisting of 6 toll roads and 1 drinking water supply system.
The Ministry of Public Works and Public Housing ensures that 7 joint projects between the government and business entities will enter the procurement stage in the first quarter of 2021, which consists of 6 toll roads and bridges to the residential sector in the form of 1 drinking water supply system project.
Tahap pengadaan badan usaha pelaksana di sektor jalan dan jembatan, ya. Ini pada saat kuartal pertama 2021 nanti akan ada pengadaan untuk 6 ruas, ya. Estimasi panjangnya adalah 208 km, ya. Kemudian estimasi biaya investasinya adalah 70,47 triliun, ya. Kita berharap kalau semuanya lancar, maka di kuartal 1 2021 ini bisa dijalankan.
Meanwhile, to date, there are 158 projects in cooperation between the government and business entities with a value of more than 1,300 trillion rupiah, with details of 84 projects in the proposal stage, 48 projects in the preparation stage, and 26 projects entering the transaction stage. From Jakarta, Ade Firmansyah for IDX Channel.
The Directorate General of Taxes has agreed to collaborate on integrations of tax data with the 3 state-owned port managers. This collaboration is continuations of the agreement between the Ministry of Finance as the Ministry of SOE, which aims to promote tax transparency of the state-owned enterprises.
The Directorate General of Taxes, together with 3 state-owned enterprises, namely Pelindo 1, Pelindo 2, and Pelindo 4, ensures its commitment to integrate tax data. This cooperation is a continuation of the joint program of the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of SOE to increase tax transparency. Director General of Taxes Suryo Utomo explained that the target of this collaboration is transparency of taxpayer income taxes. This is needed to reduce the cost of compliance burdens and the risk of future audits, where it is seen as a long and expensive process because it diverts company resources from activities productive, so that transparency at the beginning of reporting will minimize future tax disputes.
Ultimately adalah pajak penghasilan wajib pajak yang bersangkutan. Jadi di dimensi sisi wajib pajak sebetulnya kami ingin membawa cerita kepada ibu sekalian. Bagaimana kita meningkatkan kepatuhan berbasis transparansi dan kolaborasi tadi. Supaya apa? Minimal kita bisa meminimalisasi ongkos untuk patuh.
Suryo also emphasized that this collaborative step will increase access to state-owned taxpayers and encourage transparency. He also believes the importance of collaborating on compliance will strengthen the tax base going forward. From Jakarta, Raharjo Patmo for IDX Channel.
And yes, viewers, if you fit into wage subsidy beneficiaries' eligibility, you can immediately check your account because the wage subsidy for second batch has been disbursed by the Ministry of Manpower. And yes, for those of you who are waiting for the release of the salary subsidy batch 2, according to the Minister of Manpower, Ida Fauzia, there have been more than 2.1 million recipients of the second batch salary subsidy program, which have been distributed by the State Treasury Service Office by yesterday.
Termin kedua merupakan penyaluran PSU untuk periode bulan November dan Desember bagi para penerima PSU termin pertama. Mekanismenya sama seperti termin pertama, penyaluran PSU termin kedua dilakukan secara bertahap. Untuk tahap pertama, pada penyaluran termin kedua, PSU akan disalurkan kepada 2,1 juta pekerja atau buruh.
Market headlines will be right back after this quick break. Stay tuned.
Pergerakan indeks harga saham gabungan sepanjang perdagangan hari ini tertekan, level 5 ribuan kembali ditinggalkan. Bagaimana analisis Anda?
Masih ada peluang turun lebih lanjut. Kalau misalkan regionalnya memerah, nah maka tidak tentu kemungkinan kita juga akan ketularan kan.
Dan beberapa perbankan yang diduga melakukan transaksi mencurigakan dan semoga bisa menjadi salah satu referensi untuk Anda dan seperti apa ke depannya.
Welcome back to Market Headlines. President Joko Widodo officially opened the 35th Trade Expo Indonesia Virtual Exhibition 2020. In his opening speech, he pointed out that the market development needs to be enhanced in the midst of pandemics so that it can boost export growth. Enhancing export can be one of practical considerations to speed up national economic recovery. In his remarks during the Trade Expo Indonesia Virtual Exhibition 2020, President Joko Widodo emphasized several things related to the development of Indonesia's export. One of them is digital platform development. Besides that, market development needs to be done with the creative innovations so that the number of transactions for national products abroad can increase. Then the Indonesian export can pose a trade surplus which will drive the Indonesia economy.
Saya ingin ingatkan dan tekankan kembali untuk terus mencari pasar-pasar baru. Segera garap pasar-pasar non-tradisional dengan strategi baru, dengan pendekatan baru, dengan target capaian yang berdampak besar bagi pelaku usaha di dalam negeri, khususnya usaha kecil dan usaha menengah.
The COVID-19 pandemic has indeed hit the entire economy. However, President Joko Widodo hopes that this will not become an obstacle and instead it can be used as an opportunity by Indonesian trade stakeholders to increase export. From Jakarta, Muhammad Olga for IDX Channel. And yes, viewers, quoting from the President Joko Widodo, enhance export and make a trade surplus. Trade surplus is situations in which a country sells more to other countries than it buys from other countries. In other words, exports are greater than its imports. And the good news is, even in the midst of coronavirus pandemic, Indonesia successfully posted a trade surplus. Indonesia has pocketed a $13.51 billion trade surplus so far this year as of January to September because the imports fell more than the exports. And let's see the comparison with the same period of last year through the next graphic. And as viewers, through your screen, we can see the trade balance in here. From January to September trade balance, we can see that in 2019, the trade balance goes deficit by minus 1.9 US billion. And then in 2020, which we have the coronavirus in here, unexpected gas for the world, which is we got 13.51 billion US dollar. And yes, viewers, this is such a remarkable achievement since the global trade is actually shrinking, as the World Trade Organization say that it will shrink between 13 and 32% this year. But then the government is trying to keep Indonesia's trade afloat amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. But then we can't even deny that the fact that Indonesia's GDP contracted by 5.32% year-on-year in the second quarter, as a household spending and investment plunged due to the coronavirus outbreak. But then the agriculture sector, meanwhile, managed to record a growth as other sectors shrank, while contributing around 2.4% to the country's total exports in January to September period. Agriculture shipments booked annual growth of 9.7% in value at 2.82 billion US dollar. As a statistic Indonesia's data show, it also became the only sector recording an expansions over that period, as oil and gas, manufacturing, mining, and all other sectors contracted on the annual basis. Because of the agriculture good export performance, 5 months in a row, Indonesia has successfully booked a trade surplus. So let's see it through the next graphic. And as viewers, through the next graphic, we can see Indonesia's trade surplus for 5 consecutive months. And then the first thing first, we can assess by May. The Indonesia trade surplus hit 2.5 billion US dollar. Meanwhile, in June, it dropped significantly by 1.27 billion US dollar. But in July, we got all-time high by 3.4 billion US dollar. And then for August, it dropped by 2.3 US billion. And then we got September by 2.4 billion US dollar. But then the result is that this booked a trade surplus, and to be exact, in September, export jumps 6.97% month-on-month to 14.1 billion US dollar. And still, I would like to emphasize the agriculture point of view in here. In September, the agriculture exports increased by 20.84% from August, with more sales on vegetables, fruits, coffee, pepper, and shrimp. Exports on agricultural product grew by 16.22% year-on-year, and thanks to the rise of the export of bird's nest, shrimp, vegetables, clove, and also black pepper. But other than the good agriculture export, there are other related factors behind Indonesia's rising exports. So what are those? Let's check out in the next graphic. And yes, through your screen, we can see other reasons behind of that. We can see that the global economic recovery, and we cannot even deny that Indonesia is showing recovery signs as well. And then the second one is that the increase in steel exports due to increased demand from China and Malaysia. And the third one is that the rising CPO prices in the international market from China and India. And yes, the demand from Indonesia's major export destination has shown a notable improvement following the global lockdown easing, while the global commodity prices indicate an upward trend. And there are also several export commodities that become importers' favorites. So what are those? Let's see through the next graphic. Through your screen, we can see the best export commodities in here. First of all, we can see the iron and steel. And the second one is that the animal fat and vegetable oil. And the third one is that vehicles and spare parts, machinery and electrical equipment, and also plastic and plastic goods. And because of those commodities, Indonesia enjoyed a surplus of 1.08 billion US dollar with the United States and 562.5 million US dollar with India and 491.2 million US dollar with Philippines. But then the potential risk of the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic could hinder the export recovery and the global economic activity, while adding to the bleak outlook for imports as well. Still weak domestic demand would force businesses to postpone investment and production activities. And while we cannot even deny that a potential risk, but we hope nothing but the best for Indonesia's economy. Also, we hope that our commodities are also acceptable and competitive in the international market. So it will be in line with the President Joko Widodo said, enhance export and make a trade surplus. Stay tuned on market headlines because we will be right back after this quick break.
Kepala BKPM Bahlil Lahadalia bahkan mendorong investor untuk segera masuk ke kawasan industri yang disiapkan pemerintah.
Silakan para investor datang yang bawa modal, datang membawa teknologi, biarlah pemerintah yang mengurus izinnya.
Adikarya komitmennya kemanapun dan apapun yang akan dibangun oleh negara, kita akan siap mendukung. Kita juga saat ini punya proyek di ujung Banda Aceh dan juga punya proyek di Papua.
Baik saja tidak cukup, kita harus betul-betul memahami lingkungan bisnis global yang lebih baik, plus di dalam negerinya sosiologi dan antropologi, supaya totalitas kita membantu petani secara efektif.
Kita memang ketahanan pangan, tetapi kita menuju ke kedaulatan pangan.
Ada shadow power yang mendikte pembangunan sektor pertanian bukan oleh Kementerian Pertanian.
Welcome back to Market Headlines. So let's take a look at Jakarta Composite Index and Trader Movement. So earlier today, JCI was opened at the level of 5,486.42, and then approaching the closing time in the first session, the index was on the level of 5,509.01. And then the index was showing strengthening trend by the second session's closing time. The index was closed at the level of 5,509.15. In short, JCI went up 0.86%. And next, viewers, we're going to see the sectoral movement. Leading the dynamics of today's trading as the leader of the weakening trend, we got infrastructure that went up 3.93%, MISC industry that went up 3.35%, and next, as the leader of the weakening trend, we got consumer goods that went down 1.47%, and trade went down 0.36%. And yes, viewers, moving on to the top gainers and the top losers. Here are the key highlights from today's trading sessions. BBRI went up 3% to the level of 4,120 rupiah per share. And then we got Telecom that went up 7.69% to the level of 3,080 rupiah per share. We got TINS that went up 15.38% to the level of 1,050 rupiah per share, and BRIS that went up 3.66% to the level of 1,275 rupiah per share. I mean, time for the top losers for today's trading. We got TOWR that went down 2.49% to the level of 950 rupiah per share. We got HMSP that went down 4.98% to the level of 1,430 rupiah per share. We got MDKA that went down 1.08% to the level of 1,830 rupiah per share. And we got PWON that went down at 2.16% to the level of 454 rupiah per share. And next, viewers, we're going to see the intraday movement of rupiah towards the US dollar. Open at level of 14,076. Rupiah was also showing weakening trend towards US dollar. I was closed at a level of 14,071. In summary, rupiah went down 0.2%. And yes, viewers, listed company Kino Indonesia is about to distribute interim dividends for 2020 financial year. This consumer goods company will share 28.57 billion rupiah dividend in total.
According to Board of Directions decisions, Kino Indonesia will distribute interim dividends for 2020 financial year to shareholders. The company will distribute an interim dividend of 28.57 billion rupiah, and each shareholders will receive 20 rupiah per share. However, dividend distributions doesn't in line with the company's slow-moving performance in the midst of pandemic. Until the end of the third quarter of 2020, Kino recorded sales of 3.11 trillion rupiah, which is fell 10.63% on the annual basis. Same goes with the net profit. Kino Indonesia's net profit fell 63.83% to 161.7 billion rupiah. From all sources, IDX Channel.
Still about dividend, the listed company Jasa Armada Indonesia with a stock code of IPCM is about to distribute interim dividends for 2020 financial year.
According to the Board of Directions decisions, IPC Marine will distribute interim dividend for 2020 financial year to the shareholders. The company will distribute an interim dividend of 10.55 billion rupiah for 5.28 billion ICPM shares. Even though coronavirus hit the country, IPC Marine is still able to book good performance. In the first 9 months of the year, the company earned 510.15 billion rupiah in revenue. IPCM's revenue rose by 3.75% on the annual basis from the previous 491 billion rupiah. Talk about net profit. IPCM net profit edged up by 1.34% as the current position was in 69.74 billion rupiah. From all sources, IDX Channel.
And yes, viewers, in order to avoid a pseudo-decreasing trend of COVID-19 cases, the COVID-19 Handling Task Force asks all the local government to continue to intensify testing, tracing, and treatment.
The progress of COVID-19 handling has been going well. However, in the weekly basis, the coordinator of the expert team and spokesperson for the COVID-19 Handling Task Force, Wicky Adrian, said there were still notes for several provinces, which included increase in cases in the number of areas on Java and Kalimantan. Therefore, the COVID-19 Handling Task Force asks all local governments to continue to intensify testing, tracing, and treatment.
Jangan sampai terlihat tren penurunan kasus yang semu. Tren penurunan kasus minggu lalu ternyata diakibatkan oleh testing yang juga menurun. Hal ini menjadi pembelajaran bagi kita semua, terlepas dari adanya masa libur pemerintah pusat dan daerah harus tetap menggencarkan 3T bagi masyarakat untuk melaksanakan protokol 3M.
In the same time, the COVID-19 Handling Task Force appreciates 5 provinces that last week managed to get out of the top 5 provinces with the highest increase in cases, including West Sumatra, Riau Islands, Yogyakarta, West Papua, and Papua. The task force advised that this achievement can be maintained and the additional active cases should be pressed. From all sources for IDX Channel.
Step aside from market conditions as coronavirus pandemic takes a big role on current economic situations. Here it is an update data about coronavirus globally. And the news close our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic, business, and capital market channel. And before saying goodbye, I would like to remind you on what Mom said. Please do comply with the health protocol by using mask, physical distancing, and avoiding crowd. Also, washing your hand often with soap through overflowing water. I'm Clara Antawijaya. Have a nice evening and stay safe.
Go public pada dasarnya adalah proses yang mudah. Tahap pertama, persiapan internal dan persiapan dokumen dibantu oleh underwriter serta